Hey, what's up guys, it's Darkroom Duels, and today we're going to be doing a Shark deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because the deck has actually gone through a lot of changes since the last time I updated this deck. We actually got Yatopic Draco Future, which is an insanely good card for every single Xyz deck in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this card is just really good for Sharks. And I've really done a lot of changes for Sharks since the last time I updated it, so I am excited to show you guys this particular deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. And let's get straight on into it guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. So Buzzsaw Shark is a fantastic card for this deck, and it has a really awesome ability that it lets you target a water monster you control to special summon from your deck and defense position a fish monster with the same level as that monster, but with a different name, which is not that big of a deal for this particular card because you think, hey, I can special summon a fish with the same level, but everything that you play pretty much in this deck is going to be a level 4 anyways, so you're always going to be special summoning another level 4. But the only downside to it is that if you do, it cannot activate its effects this turn, and also you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck for the rest of the turn except Xyz monsters, which again is kind of not that big of a deal for this deck because all you're summoning is Xyz anyways. This card has also the ability that you can only use this card, or you can only use the effect of Buzzsaw Shark once per turn, and if this card is used for an Xyz summon of a water monster, you can treat this card as a 3, 4, or 5 level monster to go into some really amazing plays. We then play 3 copies of Lantern Shark. Lantern Shark is a really good card as well, and it has the ability that if this card is normal or special summon, you can activate the effect to special summon a level 3, 4, or 5 water monster from your hand and defense position, except another copy of Lantern Shark. And also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extract for the rest of the turn except Xyz monsters. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn, and it also shares the same effect as Buzzsaw Shark, that this card can be treated as a 3, 4, or 5 monster when you're trying to Xyz a water monster, which helps out the deck, again, quite a lot. We then play 3 copies of Silent Angler. Silent Angler can special summon itself from your hand, but it needs to be the last card that you're going to special summon out of your hand, because for the rest of the turn after you special summon this card, you cannot special summon any other monsters from the hand. We play 3 copies of the Water Tenyi Spirit. This card comes in really handy. If you have no effect monsters on your side of the field, you can special summon this card for free from your hand, which is really helpful for this particular deck. We'll play 3 copies of Batoonable Princess. This card is a great starter card for the deck. It has the ability that when it's normal or special summon, that you can banish this card to special summon 1 level 4 or lower fish type monster from your deck. So it can be literally any fish monster that you want to grab out of the deck, which is really helpful. Play 3 copies of Xyz Remore. Xyz Remore is a awesome card for this deck and helps you make your Xyz plays extremely fast. And it has the ability that you get to special summon this card from your hand by detaching any 2 materials from monsters you control, and then when you do, you can target 2 level 4 fish monsters in your graveyard and special summon those targets in face of defense position. Their effects are negated and they cannot attack or change their battle position, and they are treated, or they cannot be used for the Xyz material of an Xyz summon except for the Xyz summon of a water monster for the rest of the turn, or for as long as they're on the field, which is not that big of a deal because usually you're using this to go directly into a Bahamut Shark and give you those monsters on your side of the field to climb into a copy of Yatopic Future Draco, which is really helpful. We play 2 copies of Xyz Sylphin. Xyz Sylphin also helps you out with your Xyz plays because if you Xyz summon a monster, if an Xyz monster is Xyz summoned to your side of the field, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and if an Xyz monster is special summoned to your field while this card's in your graveyard, you can also, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, then you can target one of those Xyz monsters and attach this card as a material, which is pretty good to be able to just give that monster an extra Xyz material, especially with something like Xyz Remore running around that you're going to try and detach multiple units from that monster to be able to special summon them back from the graveyard to climb into some other plays. We then play just a single copy of Double Fin Shark. I've kind of moved away from this card a little bit because it has the ability that when it's normal summon, you get to target a level 3 or 4 water fish monster in the graveyard and special summon that target in defense position, but it has its effects negated. Now that sounds like a really good effect, but it has a really big drawback for this deck, but you can't special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect effect except for water monsters. So if you know all you're going to summon is water monsters, this card is great, but if you're trying to go into stuff like Utopia Double or other cards that you have in your extra deck, this card is not great to actually normal summon out, but it is good later in the game if you know you're trying to make like a Bahamut Shark or a Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark, and you're just going to be able to make 1 XZ during that turn. So this card is really, really good late game, but not really good first game, which is why I just play it as a one of. We then played 2 copies of Great White. Great White is a really good card in this deck. I chose to play it because it went with the shark theme. This card could be a 7-colored fish. It could be another water normal monster, but this card helps out a lot in the deck because you use it with Unexpected Die to just immediately special summon it from your deck to your side of the field, and it works also really well with your Tenyi Spirit. So I played this card at 2, and it's a Great White Shark with razor sharp teeth. So this card works exactly with what the deck is as well, and it's super cool to be able to play a super old school card, because these are actually the old school standard deck Yugi original print ones, and so I thought that was really cool to throw these into the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good in the deck too. It just stops your opponent from touching the deck essentially. In combo with Totally Awesomes and just other cards like Utopic Draco Future, this card really shuts down your opponent, which is why I play it as a 3 of in this deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Called by the Grave. It's just going to stop your opponent from hand trapping you, so it's really helpful to play this card in the deck, especially since you're trying to make a lot of different plays. I will say the only weak point that I've really found in this deck is when you use your Batunaful Princess. So you really want to have this in combo with Batunaful Princess to just stop your opponent from hitting your plays. We'll play a single copy of Monster Reborn because it helps you get 2 level 4s on the field or revive back an XZ monster that's been properly summoned to go into your Utopic Draco Future. Play a single copy of 1 for 1 because it gets your copy for Batunaful Princess out of the deck, which is really helpful. I'm still playing Rank Up Magic, the 7th one. This card helps out a lot to go into your copy of your 101 and C101s to be able to get some really awesome cards. This card is really good if you just draw it during your normal draw phase. You can reveal it, and then when you reveal it at the start of your main phase 1, you special summon a monster that's between 101 and 107 from your extra deck. And then you basically XZ summon the C version on top of it instantaneously, giving you C101 Silent Honor Dark directly on your field, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Torpedo Takedown. I bumped this card down to 1 in this particular build. It lets you target an XZ monster, a water XZ monster you control. You detach a material from it, inflict 400 points of damage to your opponent for each card in your hand, which is pretty good just to be able to do a little bit of burn damage, but the effect of when it's in the graveyard is just really good, and it also makes the effect monster that you targeted gain attack equal to the damage inflicted, so that can make some of your shark monsters pretty big, so it's why I play it as a one of in here. It helps out the deck a lot. It also has the ability that basically until the end phase of the turn it gains that attack, and you manage this card from the graveyard and target 1 water XZ monster in your graveyard to draw 2 cards to banish that card, which is really helpful for this particular deck to just be able to have a little bit of a draw power. I really, really like that particular effect for this deck. We then play 2 copies of Xyz Import. Xyz Import is really, really good because Xyz Import lets you have the ability to target an XZ monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls and attach that monster to your monster as long as its attack is less than or equal to the monster that you control, which is really good just to be able to instantly get a monster off the field. The only downside of this card is it does target, but that's totally fine because it doesn't destroy, it doesn't remove it from play, it just attaches it as a material, which can help you out quite a lot. We then play 3 copies of Generation Force. Generation Force is if you control an XZ monster, you can add an XZ card from your deck to your hand. So you can add XZ Import, you can add cards like your XZ Remore or XZ Sylphin. So you have plenty of cards in this particular deck that you can grab with this card, so it's a very, very helpful card. We then play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die lets you special summon a normal monster from your deck as long as you don't control another monster, which is always going to be our copy of our Great White that we're going to be special summoning. Great White is really a good target for this because it's going to be able to just instantly special summon it. And then if you have, say, for example, the Tenyi Spirit in your hand, you're going to be able to special summon out that card and then maybe normal summon out a copy of Buzzsaw, target a card on the field, special summon a fish from the deck, and then you got your 4 monsters to make double Bahamut, double Toad, and the Utopic Draco Future, which is going to get you plenty of defensive plays, which is super awesome for this deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps, because we only play a single trap in this deck. So for the single trap we're playing a single copy of Xyz's Revive Splash. I just play one copy of this card. It has the ability to target a rank 4 or lower Xyz monster in the graveyard, special summon it, and its attribute becomes water, which is everything in the deck except for Draco Future. And it has the ability also to banish this card from the graveyard to target one water Xyz monster you control, to special summon from your extra deck one water Xyz monster that's a rank higher than that monster you control by using it as a material. And this is treated as an Xyz summon, and you transfer all the materials to that monster. You can only use one effect of this card per turn. So basically you're only going to be able to do the revive play first and then banish the card on the next turn. But it's still a really good play to get out monsters from the graveyard to help you go into Utopic Draco Future. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of F-Zero. This card is awesome in the deck. Basically, it is a whole unit on its own. This card is always treated as a rank 1, which is pretty cool. The original rank of this card is always treated as 1, and this card's always treated as a Utopic Future card. And it has the ability also that you can also transfer Xyz materials by using a number F-Zero. So basically, you can just make it using an F-Zero Utopic Future, which is really cool because it's basically just an upgraded version of it. And it has the ability that it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. And then once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you detach a material from this card, negate the activation of that monster. Then if it was a monster card that you negated, then you gain control of that monster. So this card can literally out just about anything in the entire game because you just take control of it and negate its effect, which is really awesome, is why this is pretty much turned into the big boss of the entire deck. We then play a single copy of F-Zero Utopic Future. Basically just use this to climb into your copy of your Utopic Draco Future, which is really awesome for this particular deck. But basically make this card by using 2 Xyz monsters with the same rank, except for number monsters, which is the next 2 cards, which is 2 copies of Bahamut Shark. You basically just detach a material from this card to special summon a rank 3 or lower water monster from your extra deck, which is always going to be your Totally Awesomes, which we play 3 of in this deck. It's really easy to actually make all 3 of them in this deck. I really like playing 3 in this deck, but basically this card is a walking negate that you just have to tribute on your side of the field a water aqua monster to be able to negate something, which is really helpful because once per turn during the standby phase, you can detach a material from this card, special summon a frog monster from the deck, but you don't really play any frog monsters in the main deck, but you're just basically summoning this card immediately off the Bahamut Shark. But the big play of this card is once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap or monster effect, you can send a aqua type monster from your hand or your face up in your field to the graveyard to negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card, then you can set it to your side of the field, which is really cool because you can just immediately grab spells, traps, monsters that might help you out in different plays, especially if you're grabbing a level 4 monster that then you can flip summon later on to make another Xyz play. We then play a single copy of number 101, which takes your opponent's monsters and works with the 7th one, and a single copy of number C101, which is the card you're always going to be making on top of it, which is super helpful just to make these cards in this deck because your opponent can usually not deal with the C101 because it has the ability that it's just going to keep coming back over and over again, which is really, really helpful. Play a single copy of Valiant Shark Lancer. This card's actually pretty easy to make. It is a rank 5, but you can make it with a Buzzsaw and a copy of Lantern. And has the ability to detach. You can target a monster your opponent controls, detach a material from this Xyz card you control, and if you do, destroy that monster, which is really good for spot removal. It's a quick effect if you control another water Xyz monster, and if a water Xyz monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, while you control this monster, you can take a spell card from your deck and place it directly on top of your deck, which is your rank of magic, the 7th one, which is basically going to let you draw that card right during the next turn and special summon out your C101 Silent Honor Dark. We then play a single copy of Full Armored Crystal Zero Lancer. You make this card using a rank 5 water monster on your field, so C101 and your copy of Valiant Shark Lancer are going to be your 2 targets to make this card, but it's just too good not to play in this deck because it has the ability that this card gains 500 attack for each material it has attached to it, and if this card would be destroyed by any means, you can detach a material from this card instead, and then once per turn you can detach a material from this card, and all face-up monster your opponent controls have their effects negated until the end phase. So this is pretty much Dark Ruler no more, which is really, really helpful. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller because it can shut down graveyards. And then for the combo pieces that we play also in the deck, I play a single copy of Full Armored Black Ray Lancer, which is really good because you can actually summon off of your copy of your Bahamut Shark a copy of number 71, to then overlay on top of the number 71 the full armored Black Ray Lancer. And you guys might be looking at this card and being like, wait, why? Well, this card actually works with the rank up magic the 7th one, because it has the ability, if this card once per turn, if this card has material, you can target a number XZ monster in your graveyard except this card, special summon it, and if you do attach one material from this card to that monster. But the big effect of this card is if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you get to choose a rank up magic spell from your deck and place it on top of your deck. So basically you summon it off of your copy of your Bahamut Shark and then summon this card and then use the Black Ray Lancer to overlay on top of it, and then you can just basically get your rank up magic the 7th one when it detaches it as a material, which is really helpful. And then we play a same copy of Zeus as well, which is basically board wipes your opponent's board, which is really helpful when a XZ monsters battle. You can just summon this on top of a monster, but you kind of got to watch out a little bit with these 3 up here, because you do sometimes lock yourselves into water monsters, so you got to kind of watch out for that. But that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really, really fun deck to play around with. I highly recommend that if you guys have never played Shark, you definitely should. It's not too crazy of a deck to actually pick up. It's not really expensive for the main deck. The extra deck can be a little bit expensive, but the main deck is not. The majority of the stuff is commons anyways, so you can probably pick up the majority of it out of like a bulk bin, which is really nice. But it's really a good deck. Like, I really love what it can do and all the different plays that you can actually pull off with this deck. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Arm Duels. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.